Okay. So we're about 15 minutes behind. I'm so sorry to everybody that's having issues. It looks like we're up to 87 people. So I'm hoping that most people who were trying have gotten on. I'm so sorry if you're getting kicked off. I have no idea what that's about, but I'm extremely sorry. We're just going to go ahead and try to do the best we can. If somebody who's up for an award is getting kicked off, we'll shuffle around to try to accommodate. This is being recorded, so with the exception of this first part, I can share this video after. So I'm just going to go ahead. Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone who is here with us today. I feel like I know a lot of you just from reading and rereading your nominations and letters of support and handmade cards that you spent so much time and energy on. It's an amazing community of crime victim service providers that we have as a support system here in Vermont. My name is Samantha Talbot, and I am the communications coordinator here at the Center for Crime Victim Services. This annual celebration of the Crime Victim Service Awards happens each year during a week in April known as Crime Victims' Rights Week. This year, it's April 18th through the 24th. The ceremony and the events later this week are made possible by a grant from the Office for Victims of Crime, and we're very thankful for that. Crime Victims' Rights Week is a nationally recognized annual commemoration in April set aside to celebrate and acknowledge the hard work and dedication of victim advocates, as well as to promote victims' rights and services. This year, we have a total of 7 award winners to announce. Though it'll likely feel like more based on the outpouring of love and support from community members, friends, and family. For each award category, we'll hear first from the nominator about why the winner's so deserving, and then from the recipients. Before we start our awards, each year we have somebody read the Crime Victims' Rights Week Proclamation, and this year we have Lieutenant Governor Molly Gray, who is going to read that proclamation for us. And following that, our executive director at the center, Chris Fenno, will say a few short words. Okay, are you there, Molly? And just as a reminder, before Molly gets started.
It's my pleasure to read the proclamation. Whereas
I'm sorry, Molly.
Victim of crime and navigating the criminal justice system can be a frightening. I started, but we will start again.
And as a reminder, if everybody could turn off their video, unless you're speaking.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Samantha. It's my pleasure to read the proclamation. Whereas Samantha, can you hear me?
I cannot.
Samantha can get broadband, not only Chittenden County right now, so I suspect.
I can hear you.
Oh, good. It does say to me that your bandwidth is low. But what what we could do is I could read it again at the end, or if you're still on, you could try reading it again at the end as well. And I'm not sure if people could hear me, but just a reminder to keep your video off. That seems to make things move a little more quickly if videos are off. You'll still be able to listen, just if you could wait until your turn to speak, that would be great. Okay, I am not quite sure where Molly went, but Chris, are you there? Chris Fennell?
I am here. Thank you very much, Sam. I want to thank everyone. This annual award ceremony is an integral part of recognizing the work that people do all across Vermont. We're sorry to have not had this one last year, but as you know, it was an unusual year with the pandemic and all. I also want to say a special thank you to Senator Leahy and his staff. Senator Leahy has worked tirelessly for years to ensure that the federal government supports the work that people in the states do on behalf of crime victims. He is instrumental and has been instrumental in renewing both the Victims of Crime Act and the Violence Against Women Act. It feels really nice to know that there is a friend who is advocating for victims in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And without further ado, we will start our service awards. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get everybody.
Samantha, I am back. If you can hear me better now, I'm happy to reread the proclamation.
I absolutely can. If you want to do that, Molly, that would be great. Uh-oh.
Great. Sorry about that. I think we're having some issues with our broadband today. I'm
Indeed.
pleased to read the proclamation, and we'll start from the top. Whereas being a victim of crime and navigating the criminal justice system can be a frightening and confusing experience. Whereas progress in improving the treatment of crime victims has been made through the efforts of thousands of victims and survivors who have turned their own experiences into force for positive and change, ensuring that others can receive justice, meaningful assistance, and compassionate treatment before the law. Whereas, since the passage of the Victims of Crime Act of 1984, and through the dedicated work of advocates, lawmakers, and victim service providers, there's a growing array of services and resources available to victims and their loved ones. Whereas honoring the rights of victims, including the rights to be heard and to be treated with fairness, dignity, and respect, and working to meet their needs, rebuilds their trust. Whereas individuals' trust in the compassion, understanding, and support of their communities is achieved through sustained, deep-rooted, and coordinated outreach. Whereas identifying, reaching, and serving all victims of crime, especially those from groups that have often been left out of access to healing services and access to justice, is essential. Whereas our community's continued engagement with the challenges faced by victims of crime will ensure that the progress made to date is not lost, and that new ground is broken to gain greater justice and healing for all victims. Whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that accessible, appropriate, and trauma-informed services are offered to all victims of crime. And whereas the state of Vermont and the Center for Crime Victim Services is hereby dedicated to supporting victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building trust among our clients, collaborating with other service providers, and engaging our community in response efforts. Now, therefore, I, as Lieutenant Governor of the state of Vermont, do hereby proclaim the week of April 18th through 24th, 2021 as Crime Victims' Rights Week. I just want to take a moment to thank all of the service providers here today, especially everyone working at the Center for Crime Victim nominees, and a huge congratulations to all of the award recipients. I look forward to working with all of you to create a more just state and equitable state, particularly as it relates to crime victim services. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you so much, Molly. And with that, we are going to move into the awards. Our first award is the Community-Based Advocate Award. And I believe we have our members right in front of us. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce. The winners of the Community-Based Advocate Award are Greg and Dawn Tatro of Jonas Promise. The nominator for this category was Roger Marcoux, and the description of the award. The Community-Based Advocate Award is for an advocate working in the community-based program who has made a significant contribution to the lives of crime victims. Congratulations. And you can go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon to all award recipients and attendees. Okay, can you hear me all right, Samantha?
I can.
Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
it goes a little in and out, but I think we're good.
We'll give it a try here.
Great.
Good afternoon to all of the award recipients and attendees of the Center for Crime Victim Services Awards ceremony. And before I start, I just want to say thank you to Amy Stearns with the U.S. Attorney's Office, who helped me with the nomination process. We had a cybersecurity issue last week, and so I thank her very much. Also, to be my wife, but she is a Lamoille County victims advocate, and we're very, very proud of her. And I can tell you there's nobody that works harder on behalf of victims than Siri does. So thank you for allowing me the time to do that. It's my honor and privilege to have nominated Greg and Dawn Tatro for the Community-Based Advocate Award. On February 15th, 2018, Greg and Dawn lost their daughter to an opioid overdose in their home. Greg and Dawn administered many doses of Narcan to Jenna, but were unable to save her. Jenna had suffered from substance use disorder for many years. The Tatro family did everything they could to help Jenna, but they found out that our healthcare system lacked a comprehensive A to Z ability to help substance use disorder difference. The Tatros formed Jonas Promise, a community-based program that has the purchase of a church in Johnson that we are in presently that concentrates on recovery and fundraising. They have renovated a home, used a recovery house, and they have stored a store staffed by people in recovery, a coffee shop that will sell roasted coffee, in which proceeds, along with the store's proceeds, will go to help Jonas Promise organization to sustain the program. There's a full-time house coordinator and a program manager, along with an army of volunteers that provide support for people in various stages of recovery. The Tatros recognize the need for an A to Z program, housing with intense support, programs to include clinical support while at the residence. Then once people are ready, they will go out into the Jonas Promise program transitional housing. They also offer employment while people are in recovery. there will be transportation and financial assistance for people outside of the immediate program for housing. At this time, just before I present the award, I would like to ask former U.S. Attorney Christina Nolan to say a few words, and then after which the acting U.S. Attorney John Opart will say a few words. Christina?
Thank you, Roger. Thank you all for having me. Greg, Don, and Roger, it's great to see your faces. I hope you all can hear me. I trust somebody will interject if they can. Again, honored to be able to say a few words. Greg and Don, I think you are the perfect choice for recipient in this category. As Roger mentioned, your daughter, Jenna, victim herself of the drug trade and of opioid use disorder. And you suffered the ultimate loss, which none of us can really fathom surviving. We just can't fathom it. But somehow, miraculously, you took that loss and you turned it into a positive force in Vermont. And I'll go so far to say that you are forces of nature in Vermont. Simply put, you're saving lives by helping victims of the drug trade and of violence and trauma. And you've opened this recovery house for women who have suffered addiction and violence or trauma. And we didn't have that in Vermont. And you're filling a void that we so desperately needed. And I'm just so grateful to you for doing this and for all you've done with Jenna's promise. You're giving people who didn't have it hope. And an opportunity. And there's no way to overstate how important that is. I've said many, many times over the years, we can't charge our way out of criminal justice challenges and problems. We have to be taking advantage of those who are suffering and profiting from tragedy. We absolutely have to do that. But we have to get people into recovery, and we have to get them into recovery with the services they need to succeed. That is the best form of crime prevention. And that's what you've done. You've created a program that's unique in its continuum of services that lasts long after the first interaction with the survivor. And it's going to save lives. It's going to change lives for the better. And let me just say, we need this now more than ever, because overdose deaths in Vermont were up 38% last year during the pandemic, and human trafficking is as prevalent as ever. We need to recognize that. So just in closing, I want to say that I was inspired by many people I met when I worked as U.S. Attorney, and I was particularly inspired by you, Don and Greg, and your spirit and your drive to help the disadvantaged and the addicted and those who have suffered violence. You're heroes of mine. I will always call you heroes. I'm your biggest admirer, although maybe I have competition for that, I will acknowledge. But we need advocates like everybody on this call for victims, because it changes lives and it matters. And people like you are the only people victims have oftentimes. Prosecutors too, but certainly those who are serving victims through recovery services. One of the last things I did, I was honored to help play a role in the launch of this recovery center. It was one of the last things I did, but it was probably among the proudest and most meaningful things I got to do as U.S. Attorney. The facility is beautiful. It's just fantastic. I got to see it. You poured your heart and souls into it. And I want to thank you, say congratulations, and be in touch.
Thank you, Christina. John, are you on? John Opart?
We're not seeing John at this time, but what we can do is move to the next, and then if he
Samantha,
comes
can
on.
you still hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see
Yes.
John.
I'll just go ahead and present the award.
Okay.
Okay, I'll finish. All of everything that you've heard was born from Jenna's promise to suffer. The Tatro family is still grieving the loss of Jenna. However, they have committed themselves to helping others. I've been in law enforcement 41 years and understand that enforcement alone is not effective without treatment, housing, transportation, employment, and recovery support. I've never been involved in such a unique program. I'd like to express my appreciation to the Tatro family for all that they have done for the community, and it's with great sense of pride that I've nominated them for the Community-Based Advocacy Award. With that, this is a beautiful pewter box, and it says Don and Greg Tatro Community-Based Advocate Award, CBRW 2021, and I'd like to give that to Greg and Don, and some beautiful looks for Don. Thank you very much. Oh, and we'll allow them to speak up.
I can't thank everybody enough for even considering us for this. It has been a tough road, and I know that Jenna would have loved this program. That's something she always dreamed about, and I just feel blessed every day to see people making it and succeeding in it and becoming part of society again. So thank you so much, Roger, for nominating us, and Amy for all the work you've done. And Christina, of course, for always being there to support us.
Yeah, thank you, Roger and Amy, for nominating this award towards us. And, you know, we have to have a team around us. So I want to Olivia Govern, Daniel Franklin, who's been a big part of this, Liz, our program manager, Megan, our house manager, my son Gregory, and Senator Leahy's office has been a huge support for us, trying to help us along. And I had a message from, or a little visit from Mr. Leahy. It was one of the highlights of my life. And Christina, we're talk about a hero, man. You're my hero too. So thank you guys very much, and we're very honored.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. Our next award is going to be State-Based Advocate. I just wanted to let everybody know before that. If you are still having trouble hearing and are not as concerned with watching, I think that we've had people try calling in, and apparently there was no issues with hearing anything. So I'm going to put that information into the chat box if people would prefer to call in and listen rather than watch as well. And while I'm getting that together, I will also introduce our next recipient, the State-Based Advocate Award. Our winner is Advocate Siri Rooney, who was nominated by Kelly Locke and family. The description of this award is for a victim of crime who, oh, pardon me. I'm reading the wrong one. Let me get her up on here first. Thank you, Kelly. Wait, so I think we have both of you. And excellent. So do you want to go ahead first, Kelly? And then Siri, you can follow her.
So hello, I'm Kelly Locke, and I nominated Siri Rooney for this award on behalf of the entire Eileen O'Brien family. Siri has supported our family for the last 3.5 years through court proceedings that included 3 judges, 2 state's attorneys, the governor's highway safety program, and approximately 20 court dates. We did not have knowledge of the criminal process, and Siri helped us navigate a system that is not designed for victims. Siri was at my house, beginning her support the morning after the medical examiner informed me of my mother's tragic death. She helped us understand the role of the state's attorney and amplified our voices as victims. She has communicated regularly with my family and helped ensure that all of our family, which is very large, was able to be heard. Siri has been present whenever we needed or wanted to meet with various stakeholders so that we could ask questions, provide input, or simply gain knowledge. She was our beacon through navigating a confusing, offender-oriented process that was dragged out and included traumatic incidences of reoffending by the defendant. Siri works to improve the ways that crime victims are acknowledged, specifically by those people who represent us and vow to uphold our criminal justice system. She supported us in ways that no one else in the system was able to do. My family is grateful for her work. Thank you, Siri.
Thank you, Kelly, and the entire O'Brien family. And congratulations to Don and Greg on a well-deserved award. You're a bit of a tough act to follow. It is truly an honor to receive this award, but what makes it more significant for me is to have been nominated by the family of Eileen O'Brien. This family has endured so much, beginning with the tragic death of their beloved mother, sister, aunt, and soon to be grandmother. This was followed by nearly 3.5 years of navigating a criminal justice system that is flawed and not at all victim-centered. Everything that could go wrong with this case did go wrong. Despite these circumstances, Eileen's family has been unwaveringly gracious, patient, understanding, and kind. This family personifies integrity. It has been an honor working with them and with all the victims of crime I have had the pleasure of working with over the years. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all of my fellow victim advocates across Vermont's 14 counties. This is an extraordinary group of dedicated, compassionate, and experienced individuals who work tirelessly to support and advocate for the rights of victims. I am proud to be among them. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my colleague in Lamoille County, victim advocate Holly Jones. I can say without hesitation that Holly is my better half, and I don't know what I would do without her. Thank you, Holly. And finally, I would like to conclude with a quote for Eileen's children, Kelly and Chuck, and their spouses, Dean and Sadie. I came across this years ago in a book entitled Life of Pi by Jan Martel, and it seems fitting today. To lose a brother or sister is to lose someone with whom you can share the experience of growing old, who is supposed to bring you a sister or brother-in-law and nieces and nephews, creatures who people the tree of your life and give it new branches. To lose your father is to lose the one whose guidance and help you seek, who supports you like a tree trunk supports its branches. To lose your mother, well, that is like losing the very sun above you. By all accounts, Eileen O'Brien was the very sun above us, and it has been a privilege working with her family. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. And I apologize, Siri. I didn't get a chance to read your the description of your award, which is for an advocate working in a state's attorney's office, law enforcement, DCF, attorney general's office, or other government program who's made a significant contribution to the lives of crime victims. Thank you both so much. And we are going to move to the next award, which is the Survivor Activist Award. The Survivor Activist Award winner this year is a group, and that group is the Voices of St. Joseph's Orphanage. The nominator for this award is Mark Wenberg, and the description of this award is for a victim of crime or group of victims who have taken his or her own personal experience and translated into action or advocacy on behalf of other victims. And I can say for sure that this group has. So I'm going to introduce Mark to say a little bit, I apologize, Rachel first, to say a little bit about the group. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you very much. I will try and be quick because Mark really deserves more of an introductory role, but my name is Rachel Jolly and I'm the director of the Burlington Community Justice Center. In the fall of 2018, thanks in large part to a comprehensive and in-depth BuzzFeed article that Christine Keneally wrote in August of that year about the neglect, abuses, and deaths of children that occurred at the St. Joseph's Orphanage in Burlington over the course of many decades. A criminal investigation was launched by a task force involving Burlington Police Department and the Attorney General's office. Recognizing the limits of the traditional criminal legal system, the Vermont approached a group of us, including restorative practitioners and other stakeholders, to explore the additional processes that could be looked at, a more comprehensive array of possibilities that were more victim-centered, that could look for opportunities for repair of harm, and most importantly, or more, as importantly, the prevention of future harms and crimes against children. So after that process, the restorative inquiry was launched. It was hosted by the Burlington Community Justice Center, and we hired Mark Wenberg, who then started to collect and reach out to a number of former children of the orphanage who had reached out to the Vermont State Police and the Attorney General's office and Burlington PD in the course of that investigation. What followed was over 2 years now of working with this group of amazing, inspiring, brave former children of the orphanage who I can think of no better survivor advocates that have taken a number of steps on behalf of themselves and future children and continue to do so. That would include legislative advocacy, publishing a book of writings of from their experiences, making their stories heard through the Vermont Folklife Center for the future, like to leave a legacy for future children, a GoFundMe page to help fund these efforts, a memorial on the grounds of the former orphanage so that we never forget what happened there. And the list could go on, actually. They're still active, they still meet regularly, and they are doing so much at sometimes great personal cost for future children and for our state. Mark Wenberg has been so much more involved that I would like to introduce him next to say a few words, and then we'll hand it off to the former children.
Thank you, Rachel. And I want to thank you for hiring me for this process. It's been just a remarkable experience. And, I want to acknowledge that this is a group receiving an award, which is the way it should be, because this is in many ways a group process. And they have set out some ambitious goals that they are now proceeding to achieve step by step, some of which Rachel mentioned. But I'd like to speak more about the individuals and the individuals that make up this group and the remarkable qualities that they bring to this process. I want to share a few of those qualities rather than bringing their names into this space. Many of them are watching and some are not. but I want to just highlight some of the qualities that they are bringing to this process. They are compassionate, they are fighters, they are honest, they are powerful, they are vulnerable, they are supportive, they're wise, sensitive, artistic, hardworking, courageous, caring, funny, effective, committed, and they are truth tellers. You may have noted that there's a lot of diversity in these qualities, and some of those qualities may, on occasion, lead to conflict, and it does. But here's something else that's remarkable about this group of people. They have a great capacity to work through conflict and difference. And they come through those moments both holding true to what's important to them as individuals, and that's remarkable. I want to finish by briefly talking about that last quality of the list, truth tellers. Here's something that I've learned in this process with this group of people. When these individuals speak their truth, people listen deeply, and you honestly don't really have a choice. Their voices and stories open your hearts and they open your minds. And this is very, very powerful, as another quality that I mentioned. And that's why their voices are changing policies, practices, and our sense of collective obligation. I want to acknowledge that in truth, the participants in this process, we should have been listening to these folks for a long time ago. And for a long time, they've been fighting to have their voices heard. And that is so clearly happening today. And you can see the impact of that all over in their achievement of their goals. And I just want to acknowledge one other change that they are affecting, and that's in me as a person and me as a provider and facilitator of restorative justice. So I am very grateful to be a part of this process and be in this process with the Voices of St. Joseph's Orphanage, and to learn from them, be inspired by them, and want to do right by them. And as I think another person mentioned in a previous award, you are my heroes. And so I want to thank the representative of the group, Brenda Hannon, who's going to come forward to accept the award. And I want to also thank the Center for Crime Victim Services for hosting this event. As challenging as the technical issues have been today, I want to acknowledge and honor that as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
We're going to grab
Brenda.
Brenda.
You, everyone. Hi.
Welcome, Brenda.
Hello. Thank you, Mark. And thank you for voting for the Voices of St. Joseph's Orphanage for this Survivors Award. Good afternoon. I am Brenda Hannon, one of the spokespersons for the Voices of St. Joseph's Orphanage. Frankly, it took courage to confront the terrors of the past. In casting light on deeply buried trauma, a victim must once again relive celebrate. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, do you want me to start again? It's not very long.
That'd be great. Thanks, Brenda. We lost a bit in the middle.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Hannon, one of the spokespersons for the Voices of St. Joseph's Orphanage. Frankly, it took courage to confront the terrors of the past.
We lost you again, Brenda.
Today, we celebrate being finally seen and heard. That in itself offers us a measure of healing. For this, we have accomplished together. Thank you all so much for this recognition. It is my honor to accept it on behalf of all the survivors of the children of St. Joseph's Orphanage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. And I believe we have Linda next.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. When I first, the very first day that I walked into the first meeting provided for us by the state and city government, I was scared to death. I've gone through life feeling that, you know, people say, oh, I'm very sorry, but, and I just wasn't sure of what I was getting into and what was gonna, but the longer I've hung in, the more I found I was inspired and wanted it to be involved more and more. And we designed our goals, and I became so excited that we were going to say this needs to be changed, and I feel like I've jumped some hoops with my own health, and I know it's because of being part of this group. And I just want to end by saying that I kind of lost my train of thought, but it's just been a wonderful group for me. And I've been seeing my goals progressing and coming true. And it's so exciting. And leaving this legacy for my children, you know, with all these accomplishments means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Linda. And next, I believe we're going to hear from Debbie. You're muted, Debbie.
Sorry about that. Thank you for honoring the voices of St. Joseph's with this award. I am most humbled to be part of this group. This group is comprised of many wonderful and talented people, and it is a blessing to have been able to connect and to have worked so hard for our common goals. Though it has been extremely tough at times, the healing and the bonds that have emerged from being a participant in this group has far outweighed the challenges that I have faced. And thanks once again for this award. And thank you, every soul in this group, and even all the ones who cannot come to this group and are for some reason in the background. I want to thank them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And do we have anybody who wanted to say a few words on behalf of the group? If not, we'll move on.
Yes.
To the... Okay, welcome.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
No.
Oh. Well, how do I fix that? Okay, anyway, my name is Marilyn Goodrow, and I was just a baby at the orphanage, and I was adopted in 1965. I was only there at the orphanage for 2.5 months. And I didn't choose to be a baby in trouble. It just kind of came my way, and I didn't realize all the severe danger I was in. I am so grateful to be part of this group, and I was immediately relieved. My heart was healed because I finally reunited with my biological families and through other ways, and I finally connected with my with my orphanage family, which I never thought would happen on this earth, even though I promised a solemn oath that I would come back for them. Two things that were really important is that once the first meeting I joined this orphanage, my heart had healed because all I wanted to do is just tell them that they were in my family, they were in my heart all my life. I was under severe distress from never closing off my family members in my biological family and never getting them back. So, and I also was deeply touched to go back into the past and find the two women who were the little orphans that took care of me in this group, that I was a baby and they held me. And I thank you very much for speaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Ellen. And we are going to move on to the Ally Awards. Unfortunately, Mark has to step away, so he cannot accept his award, but we do have plenty of people who would love to talk about Mark. Now, the Ally Award this year is shared between two fantastic winners. The first of which is Mark Wenberg, who was nominated by the Voices of the Children of the Voices of St. Joseph's Orphanage, who just won the award for the victim survivor. And they had no idea that that was happening prior to the nomination, but I will read the description of the Ally Award. The Ally Award goes to a volunteer, professional, or program who, outside of the course of performing their regular duties, has advocated for a victim-centered policy, implemented practices that have created significant change for victims, specifically a person or program that's made a significant impact in support of victims in policy revision, promotion of best practices within victim services, or helping professions, crime, violence prevention, including activities that enhance offender accountability, community response to violence, and community outreach and education. And the winner of this, the first winner of this award is Mark Wenberg. And I believe we're going to hear from Brenda first as to why he was nominated. Thank you, Brenda.
Hello. Thank you. I know that Mark had to step away, but I wanted to say, Mark, words fall short in expressing the depth of our gratitude. When you organized the Restorative Justice Committee, there was no blueprint to pull all of the components together. You did it though. Through your training and knowledge, we, the survivors of St. Joseph's Orphanage, were able to accomplish our goal to be heard. However, deeper benefits came from that experience. Due to your leadership, each of us discovered what it means to feel important and to have value. And with every milestone reached, each of us sensed a healing, a closure. That gift cannot be measured. Now empowered, we look forward to opening the door of justice for other victims of abuse, past and future. How wonderful you have been coordinating our project. And above all, you continue to give of yourself. No star could be brighter, and nobody deserves this award more than you. Congratulations, Mark. Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. And I don't see Walt. So I believe we're going to hear from Rachel next.
All right. Can you hear me?
I sure
Yes.
can, thanks.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, I have had the great honor and pleasure of working with Mark. He is a true victim services gem. He's been a phenomenal leader of a first of its kind restorative inquiry project in Burlington, seeking to understand and document the events of the St. Joseph's Orphanage through the voices, experiences, and stories of those most impacted, the former residents, and facilitating inclusive processes of accountability, amends making, learning, and change. Just by his very presence, Mark is someone who exudes trust and safety. His soft-spoken affect, deep listening skills, restorative practices expertise, and an openness to learning at all times makes him unique in his abilities to lead this initiative. Mark has created cohesion and teamwork amongst a diverse group of dozens of former children of the orphanage who currently reside all across the country, and each have their unique stories and perspectives regarding what happened to them and what repair or restoration could look like. Mark has done an exceptional job in creating a safe container for each story to be highlighted when and if the member is ready to share it, and centering the former children as the true leaders of the process. He has helped develop a list of goals so that the group can remain focused in their efforts to draw attention to their experiences by the most appropriate audiences and do their part in ensuring that what happened to them never happens to another child in the future. His facilitation of weekly meetings with the group, various subcommittees for the multiple initiatives, and behind the scenes coordination to ensure the ultimate success of those efforts is masterful. Everything he does is done with caring, intention, thought, and most importantly, heart. Mark has one of the biggest that of anybody I know. And because he had to step out to teach a class, he did text me wanting to, on his part, he would have said, I know personally that he was quite touched and surprised by receiving this award. He definitely wanted to thank Amy Farr, the St. Joseph's Advisory Team, the Vermont Center for Crime Victim Services, and of course the former children. And I'm sure he would have done so very eloquently if he had been able to be here, but I'm sure he'll watch the recording. Thank you.
Yes, I was going to say, thank you, Rachel, that we are recording this so he will be able to watch again later. And do we have Walt on Lorraine? Hi, Walt. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Mark, well, let's start off on the right foot. I'm not known as one of the nicest guys in our group. I'm probably known as the guy that disagrees with everybody. But having said that, I love the group. Mark wrote a thing one time, not too long ago, sending out a thing saying how honored he was to have this award. Well, Mark, I hate to tell you, but we're honored to have you. Without Mark, I don't think this group would be here. Whenever one of us gets kind of going the wrong way a little bit, Mark steps to us over and over on his own time, calls us up. You just couldn't ask for a nicer guy. You really couldn't. He smart as a whip. Sometimes him and I don't always agree. But I'm going to tell you, I am honored and privileged to call Mark my friend. He probably has done more for me than anybody except my significant other. He'll call me up just to check on me. I think he calls me up just to think maybe I've ran away or something. I don't know. But he does it, and he does it to everybody. He's not just calls me, he calls everybody, talks to everybody, tries to help them with what they need help with. I can't help but say it again. I am proud that Mark is my friend, not only as the facilitator of this group, but he is my friend. Congratulations, Mark. You really deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt. And I believe Debbie, would you like to?
Sure. Thanks again for your time. When I was first confronted with the idea of joining the St. Joseph's group, I must admit I was less than, the idea was less than appealing to me. Before joining, I had the opportunity to speak with Mark on the workings of the group and all it entailed before joining. Extremely difficult. Mark handled it with the most compassionate way that he possibly could. And he soon talked me into joining the group. The weekly meetings, although extremely emotional at times, seem to bring with them some peace, at least for me, they do. And some healing started happening. Hidden between all the stories that we all have and we all share with each other. And it's an amazing thing. Each meeting we grew closer together. And with Mark's guidance, the group stayed on track, and together we have accomplished many of our goals. Mark is a kind and compassionate, patient facilitator. And I would like to also thank the Burlington Community Justice Center for hiring such a wonderful man. Every once in a while, I would always tell Mark, hey, I think you need an award. And here you go. Now he's got it. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And next up, we're going to hear from Linda. Welcome, Linda.
Hi. I just want to say that when I met Mark, I felt completely safe, whereas before I had a very difficult time feeling safe in groups and whatever, and non-trusting of a lot of things. But right from the start, Mark had an air about him where he showed that he cared about everybody, and I felt that. And I did not believe before I joined the group that there was a human being that cared about people that were hurting, that they truly had the mindset and heart to care for people who were hurting. And clearly, that person could clearly connect to it, relate to it somehow. And he did. I mean, even before he had a conversation with you, he knew that you were hurting inside, and he helped you to bring it out. And Mark is just so deserving of this award. He's a very special person, and I'm very grateful and thankful to know him and to be part and have him to lead this group. And I just want to say also thank you to the state and city government for providing this program for us to help us move on and reach some nurturing goals. And there's one other person that I can't forget, and I want to say thank you to Amy and Rachel and many others. But congratulations, Mark. I'm so pleased that you won this award. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda, for those words. And this year, because of the gross amount of, and I say gross in a good way, the amazing amount of letters received, both for the first Ally Award winner, Mark, but the second group of award winners was one of the most we've ever seen, and I'll introduce them now. The second Ally Award goes to Sergeant Amy Nolan and Sergeant Aaron McNeil, who are the co-commanders of the crime scene search team. They were nominated by Kate Brayton, and I'll do a quick recap of the Ally Award in case anybody couldn't hear me or may have missed it. So the Ally Award is for a volunteer, professional, or program who, outside of the course of performing their regular duties, has advocated for a victim-centered policy, implemented practices that have created significant changes for victims, specifically a person or program that's made a significant impact in support of victims in policy revision, promotion of best practices within victim services or helping professions, crime, violence prevention, including activities that enhance offender accountability, community response to violence, and/or community outreach and education. And I will introduce Kate to say a couple words about why she nominated the crime scene search team, in addition to the dozens of letters that were in support of them as well. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you, Samantha. I'm going to keep my camera off in order to save bandwidth for folks. I'm hoping that will help. I'm so happy the committee selected the Vermont State Police Crime Scene Search Team to receive the Ally Award this year. This team has 2 full-time co-commanders and up to 20 members from across the state of Vermont. These members have other responsibilities and are called up whenever a serious crime takes place. The work of the CSST is to methodically search for, preserve, and collect evidence. Their meticulous work yields strong cases that help victims of crime gain safety, validation, and justice. So we've all seen on TV when a search team tosses a house or an apartment, they empty drawers, they pull apart couches, and they generally trash the place. This could not be further from the truth of what actually happens and what our crime scene search team does. The truth is that they take their time, patience, and they have a serious attention to detail. There are specific scientific methods of collection that they are very careful with everything from putting on their Tyvek suits and their booties to running a drone to take aerial footage of a scene. They're not only careful about this because it's going to be evidence that's going to help towards a conviction and seeking justice for victims, but also they're thoughtful. They enter a scene where something horrible has taken place and spend hours and sometimes days sifting through the wreckage of the event and gathering what is needed to ensure public safety and justice for victims. In this work, they're under no obligation to go above and beyond searching for and collecting evidence, but they always do more. I'm going to list just a few examples of the things that they have done that I have personally witnessed. Locating and delivering insurance papers for homeowners who need that stuff right away in order to start claims and cleanup. Clearing broken glass off floors of a home where they knew a mother and her toddlers were coming back into the space. Removing damaged mattresses out of a house and putting them in a space and covering them up so a family didn't have to return to see blood. Feeding, petting, keeping safe endless numbers of cats, dogs, chickens, goats, birds, sheep, and any other animal you can think of. Helping rehome animals that have been orphaned due to homicide. Cleaning blood outside of a home so that families returning would not see the spot where their loved one was killed. Laying down blankets at times to cover things so families could re-enter the home to get their belongings. Returning cable boxes and leased vehicles with family members who needed support at that time. Collecting and delivering medication, computers, contact lenses, glasses, identification, and other items needed from a home while the family's scene is being processed. Stoking external wood stoves and regulating the thermometers and thermostats in homes so that pipes don't freeze through a multi-day event. Staying late after everyone else has gone home to call the local fire department to get help in washing down areas. I could go on and on, but I won't. I'm just super thrilled that they have received the recognition for the many ways they are trauma-informed and victim-centered in their work. Congratulations to Erin and Amy and all of the crime scene search team.
Thank you so much, Kate, for that. And I believe we have Erin with us. Is Amy here as well?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Kate, for that. On behalf of the crime scene search team, we are honored. It means so much for our team to be recognized. Detective Sergeant Nolan and I like to say that we steer a ship, and that ship is made of troopers that are passionate about what they do. I like to tell people when I talk about our team is how humbled I am about the compassion and empathy each one of our team members shows for victims and their loved ones. And we realize the impact of our work, and each and every victim's story needs to be told. And we let the evidence help tell that story. Ultimately, we hope we can bring some type of closure to the families of each and every victim. And CSST is truly a team effort. I'd like to ask Detective Sergeant Nolan to acknowledge each member of our crime scene search team.
Thank you, Erin. As Erin stated, we might be the ones whose names are on this award, but we recognize that we absolutely could not do this job without our team. We are truly a family unit, super cohesive. So real quickly, just to run down: Sergeant Aaron Hodges, Detective Sergeant Drew Coda, Detective Sergeant Jeff Stevenson, Detective Sergeant Amber Keener, Detective Trooper Adria Pickin, Sergeant Blake Cushing, Trooper Nick Grimes, Trooper Keith Luia, Trooper Jeremy Sullivan, Trooper Tyler Raincourt, Detective Trooper Jason Langfellner, Trooper Kelsey Knapp, Trooper Matthew Nadu, Detective Sergeant Seth Richardson, Trooper Matthew Chin, Detective Trooper Brandon Gallant, and Detective Sergeant Ashley Barnes, as well as our teammates on the Major Crime Unit, who we work with very closely. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you both so much, and we appreciate your service. Our next award category is going to be the Career Achievement Award. And for the first category of Career Achievement Award, our winner is Major Ingrid Jonas, nominated by Kate Brayton. And I will read the description of the award, and then we'll hear from Kate. This award is presented to individuals who have demonstrated exceptional dedication to victim services over their career or lifetime, and have changed the culture and practice of Vermont to be safer and more responsive to victims of crime. The recipient of this award will clearly be deserving of a place in Vermont history beside other leaders in victim services. And I will introduce Kate.
Thanks so much. So I could spend hours explaining to you the many, many ways that Major Jonas has helped victims and survivors throughout her 30-year career as an advocate and a state trooper. I could spend another few hours sharing the many things I admire about her work, her energy, her smarts, and her confidence. But it's later on a Monday and it's sunny and warm, and I think the rest of the week is going to take a downturn. So, and I also know that she needs to get back to work this evening. So I'm going to keep this brief and just summarize as best I can. Major Jonas spent her career providing support and safety to community members who have been harmed by crime. She has focused her energy on crimes against children and on interpersonal violence of all kinds. Throughout this time, she's worked tirelessly to establish programming, change systems, and supervise advocates and sworn officers in the field who work directly with victims and survivors. She has worked directly with countless survivors herself, and through it has managed to stay engaged, energetic, and optimistic. That in itself is an incredible feat. When promoted to major in 2017, Commissioner Anderson said, "Over the course of her 19-year career, Major Jonas has demonstrated outstanding leadership and judgment in each of her assignments as a member of the Vermont State Police. Her can-do attitude and dedication to mission of the Vermont State Police has earned the trust and respect of her fellow troopers and the Vermont State Police command staff. As the first director of fair and impartial policing and community affairs for the Vermont State Police, Major Jonas has developed, implemented, and overseen a comprehensive program ensuring impartial policing practices at all levels of the state police, the building of relationships of trust with minority communities, and the diversification of the state police workforce. She will be an outstanding addition to the Vermont State Police senior command staff. His words hold true to this day. Soon after today's award, Major Jonas will get back to work, chairing the Fair and Impartial Policing Committee, of which she was the first director. The Major is only weeks away from retiring as a sworn officer, and my guess is that her work to better our world is not yet finished. I'm excited to see what she does next. I'm so happy and thrilled that the committee selected Major Jonas to receive the Career Award this year. Congratulations, Ingrid.
And is Ingrid here?
I am here.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I just have a few words, probably take about 4 minutes. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you so much to the Center for organizing this annual event. It's always exciting to attend it, let alone be a recipient. It's great to be here, and a sincere honor and pleasure to be among this distinguished group of award recipients. I want to take just a couple minutes to express appreciation and acknowledge collaboration, because we all know the enormous amount of collective grit, teamwork, and collaboration required to create systems that hear and serve and honor crime victims. No one can effectively do the work alone. For me, it was in the late 1980s that I started working at a women's shelter called My Sister's Place in Yonkers, New York. This place sheltered women who had fled their homes because they were in danger from their partners. And working there actually changed my view of the world and my path in it. It was actually the first time I realized the magnitude of the fact that some people feel unsafe in their own homes, and that quite literally home was the most unsafe place for some people. It was startling to me how far this reached, and I wanted to learn the ways that I could help make it stop, and wanted to be part of work that could intervene and improve lives and improve safety in communities. When I moved back to Vermont, I continued doing advocacy work among many of you all, and part of that work involved reading police affidavits and reports. And I realized at that time that these officers were often the first to interact with so many survivors of crime, all sorts of crimes, violent crimes. Police were really there right away and on a daily basis. And those first few moments and these types of interactions between police and crime victims were clearly important to everything that would follow in terms of creating space for victims to speak, in terms of accessibility to resources, and literally to the direction and outcome of each case. When I decided to apply to be a police officer, it was with the hope of someday being able to solve and bring resolution to these complex crimes, to be someone who could be trusted to carry forward these difficult stories. And it seemed to me that it was most important to bring humanity to policing and to be the person asking good questions and to be listening carefully to answers. Policing seemed like a way to continue the important work of standing up for survivors of crime. And it was another way to respond to violence and provide access to safety. I remember in 1998 feeling really proud that I made it into the Vermont State Police, and then proceeded to learn from so many people that were ahead of me and alongside the detectives and other officers, the social workers and advocates, activists, prosecutors, and so many more over the years. I learned firsthand that police as first responders and investigators truly affect the course of people's lives by bringing humanity and empathy and skill to our work. We can bring people into the various systems that care for them, or frankly, we can alienate people. And owning that enormous responsibility makes all the difference in the world. We need to do our work in partnership and part of a continuum of caring for people. That has driven me in terms of the various roles that I've had in the state police and being part of creating the systems that are guided by these truths. I just want to wrap it up and thank my loved ones and colleagues and friends who know that compassion and empathy are strengths. I want to thank you for your patience and your senses of humor. Kate, I can't thank you enough for this nomination and for your wisdom, your friendship. You're incredible. And as I approach retirement from state police, I do plan to continue working for these goals, probably just in other ways. It has been a tremendous honor to do this work for fairness and safety with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And we're going to move on to our last award, and that is the Lifetime Achievement Award. And that the winner of that is Robert White, who unfortunately could not be with us this afternoon. But the nominator, Jennifer Pullman, is here, as well as Betty Lavoie, who will be accepting the award on behalf of Robert. So welcome, Jen.
Good afternoon. Can you see me and hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you, Sam, for weathering the challenges of the pandemic with this process and for still powering through. To Crime Victim Services for recognizing Bob, and all of the winners today. I'm really humbled to be a part of this process, and just wanted to say thank you and congratulations to all of you. I'm also proud and humbled to be able to speak to Bob White and to why we felt that he wasn't just going to retire and walk off into the sunset without something more formal. Bob's been serving victims of crime since the 1970s when he joined the Vermont State Police, starting off as a trooper and then climbing his way up the ranks, serving as a commander then at the St. Albans Barracks. And as one person who's quite close to him described, he was back there in the olden days when there wasn't a lot of victim response. So state police were often hanging out in the emergency rooms after hours, at all hours, in terms of trying to support victims of crime as best as they could. But that was the olden days, and that was not going to be how things were moving forward, and Bob was a force for changing that. Bob went on to become the director of the criminal division of the Vermont State Police. And during that time, he promoted practices within the agency designed to improve the way crime victims were supported in the justice system, setting an example for local agencies in the process. As one example, Bob oversaw the development of Vermont's Amber Alert program. And that was actually my first time meeting him. And I really didn't know what to expect. I worked for Crime Victim Services at the time, actually. And my job as a part of that task force was to make sure that children's needs are hats in terms of a lot of these meetings. I think some of you might be able to sympathize. But I soon realized that I really didn't need to have that hat on when it came to Bob, because Bob always wore a few. I thought my role was to help inform the task force, but I quickly found that my voice was almost superfluous. When Bob was with the VSP, he did set the tone for other stakeholders as Vermont began to think about a new approach to responding to crimes of child abuse and sexual assault. As I mentioned, when he was with law enforcement in that role, he did set a tone for Vermont that law enforcement was not only going to be a valued, integral part of the movement in terms of change, but that they were going to be leading a part of that. They were going to be part of leading that. So in the mid-1990s, he was hired as the director of the Northwest Special Investigation Unit and Child Advocacy Center. In large part, he really needed to help the stakeholders who were invested at the time in thinking about how are we going to actually do this, move it forward so that it's viable. He was hired, I say, because there was no salary. And there was not even a promise of a salary. I think one of Bob's initial tasks was maybe to think about, would he be able to get paid? But he took the job because he cared about the mission and he cared about the vision. Well, when Vermont only had 5 CACs and just a couple of SIUs, Bob was at the State House over 15 years ago. He was banging the drum for funding for all programs at a critical time when the federal government was actually looking to cut CAC funding completely. It was then that I re-met Bob, and he was walking the halls trying to get interest in terms of like, this is the way we need to go, this is the way Vermont needs to go, and we need support from the state. After the tragic and horrific sexual assault and murder of a young woman in Vermont in the mid-2000s, Vermont was again forced to take a look at what our state was missing and what do we need to do differently to support victims and survivors and to prevent future crimes, especially of that nature. Bob was there again with others to beat the drum, to highlight what's best practice, what we need to do moving forward. And it was that year with Bob's efforts, along with others, that the Vermont legislature adopted a mandate that all counties were to have access to a multidisciplinary approach to investigating child abuse and sexual violence. His vision, his approach was that no victims ultimately would be treated any differently just based on geography. Bob's efforts continued. As the director of Newsy, he did partner with other CAC and SIU directors to make sure that Vermont was going to have an entity that was going to help support the movement moving forward. He was an integral part of making sure that Vermont then had established its own chapter that was recognized by the National Children's Alliance, which became the Vermont Children's Alliance, that would then look to support and grow the multidisciplinary movement throughout our state. At the time, we were 5 CAC strong. We're now 13 CAC strong that are all partnered with special investigation units throughout our state. Bob also became the first special investigation units grants manager in our state, establishing the foundation for making sure that the program was solid moving forward, and also adhering to standards that were established throughout the country that were going to recognize and ensure that programs were you were adhering to those standards and were ensured that there was something that people were being held accountable for. And then as an SIU and CAC director, I think everybody on the Vermont Children's Alliance board, every director would say that Bob's role in helping them individually to grow their programs, to establish their programs, cannot be overstated. Bob was available 24/7 for calls, for advice, site visits, sharing all of his materials, all of his knowledge, in any way, shape, or form. He was always available to make sure that they felt supported in whatever they needed to do. He lent an ear at all times. Even when Bob thought he was going to retire a little while ago, he didn't quite step away from us. He still was there always with an ear to making sure that both the Vermont Children's Alliance was supported, as well as his first loves, his counties, in terms of making sure that the service was seamless for victims. So we've always sort of known that no matter how far Bob moves away, he's always just a call. That's just Bob. In conclusion, it's I and so many, as reflective of Bob's work. We had so much support, not just from directors of programs, but from advocates, both from states' attorneys' offices, from network programs, from sexual assault nurse examiners, so many who were saying like this, Bob needs to be acknowledged for all that he has done to support victims and really change the way in which we approach services in Vermont in terms of the criminal justice response. I know that I can say that Vermont is a leader in terms of what's happening with the criminal justice piece. We can boast something that other states can't. And I know that I would not be sitting here if it weren't for Bob's work. I'm honored to be a part of this process. I'm so grateful to you for recognizing him, and I'm grateful to have spent some time on this earth working with Bob. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. And Betty, you're here to accept on behalf of Bob.
I am. So I was in conversation with Bob earlier today, and actually I'm thinking about this. This is exactly the way he would have done this. Bob never liked to be in the spotlight. He was a behind the scenes sort of mover and shaker. I've taken his place here at Newsy as the executive director, and every day I see something that Bob did that I am the recipient of something that he did quietly, but strongly and with a lot of thought about this. I've known Bob since the olden days. And so we started our careers about the same time. And so it's interesting that he's now gotten to retire and I haven't yet, but oh, well, that'll be coming before long. But yeah, Bob, I'm just trying to figure out what to say about him. He was just very clear about what he always wanted to do, had a vision that not a lot of people had, and he was able to get a lot of things done in the CAC and the SIU world in the state of Vermont. And I really do believe that because of his influence here in the state, we do have a system that responds to victims of sexual assault and serious child abuse that not a lot of places can compare to. I think the movement, the Vermont Children's Alliance, the cohesiveness of that group is pretty remarkable. And Bob really did form that group together to make it really not 13 CACs, but one group that work in the different geographical areas in the state of Vermont. And for that, I'm very grateful. And I know Bob would say it was probably nothing. It was just his job and he was doing it. And that would have been him. So on behalf of Bob, I do want to thank you for giving the award, and I will certainly be letting him know how this all went. So thank you very much.
Thank you both so much for that. And I also just want to say thank you to everyone who stuck with us through the technical issues and who, spent some time filling out whether it was filling out a nomination form for someone special or writing a letter of support. I'm very appreciative, and I also thank you so much for your patience today in this technological world. I'm looking forward to next year seeing you all in person. I just wanted to close by saying thank you so much to both Amy Stearns and Sarah Alexander, who were so helpful in putting this event together and supporting me and helping to make it run as smoothly as possible. and everybody who submitted a nomination every year. We can't pick everyone, but I appreciate that people keep making those nominations and making it very hard for us to decide. As a closing, I just wanted to let award winners know what they could expect. Each recipient will receive a silver box, as was presented to the Tatros, that is engraved, along with, excuse me, a copy of your award nomination. So you're able to read exactly what was said about you in the privacy of your own home. And that would include any letters of support as well that were written about you. They'll also receive a certificate with your name and which award you received. And if, as I said before, for anybody that may not have heard, this entire program was recorded, and although you may not have been able to hear most of it, I did get pretty good. I was able to hear it pretty well. So I'm happy to share this recording. I can put it on our website, send it directly to anybody who would like to watch or listen to it. And if you have any questions for me at all, please feel free to reach out. As well, I have, we have some fun Crime Victims' Rights Week tchotchkes that will be sent out to everybody who registered for today. Those will be sent in the mail. And I thank you all so much for coming, and I'll stay on for a minute if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I hope everybody enjoys this afternoon, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.